Check it out, 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 check it out.
You're listening to episode 240 of the Comics Pals. We're a group of comic book journalists and friends who record a podcast together because we don't talk enough about comics in our daily lives.
I don't know if you guys have been seeing this, but it's the latest thing that's setting Twitter on fire. All the spoilers for the new movie Cruella came out, and it's a new way of trying to make a new sympathetic villain. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but it's basically like, if Batman's parents were killed by a bunch of clowns, or like if, Lex Luthor's parents were killed by a bunch of Kryptonians.
I'm really glad you
Can I
brought
spoil
this
it? Can I spoil it? Sean, can I spoil it?
I think Phil just did.
Cruella de Vil's origin story is that her parents were eaten by Dalmatians.
I'm really glad you brought this up, Phil, because
It's important.
with this revelation, I was wondering what joke killed your parents.
Oh, no! It was, in fact, a falling anvil and a piano.
Rough.
Is that why you think crime is so funny, Phil?
That's right. Crime is something to laugh at. The way we make Cruella de Vil, who's a villain who skins puppies, sympathetic, is by having her parents killed by Dalmatians.
Have you guys seen either the film or a clip of this? I saw
funny.
I saw a pirated clip of it. I think someone literally pulled out their camera in the theater. She literally her mother gets pushed off a cliff by Dalmatians.
It's like if I was in that writing room and pitching how do we make this character
a Comics Pals intro?
It's like I'm pitching a Comics Pals intro.
Every week Disney is just like Sean. He goes, all right, we'll let him do it.
At the same time, they're taking notes.
Wow.
It's just wild to me. Behind every, I imagine behind every bad decision like that gets made creatively, that there's just some coked up executive who, someone comes in and pitches this, and they're just sitting there for a second, yes, that's the idea.
That really sparked a whole conversation online, though, didn't it? About,
it's huge.
Sympathetic villains and stuff like that. And I think people are taking this a little too seriously. I think it's a stupid, certainly a stupid concept.
Yeah.
But, I think people are taking it a little too seriously. It's a movie about a villain that obviously people cared enough about for her to get a solo movie, but the movie's called 101 Dalmatians, right? I don't care what the villain's origin is.
It's not
Yeah, and it doesn't even if you try to connect the dots, so to speak. The through line there. Sean,
that was the thinker.
the through line there doesn't make sense. She wants the Dalmatians because they would make a fashionable coat, not because she has an intense hatred for them.
That's interesting because it's I will wear the thing I hate most.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Batman.
Just like Batman. Bats killed his parents.
Do you think in Cruella 2 she starts fighting crime?
I actually think she would make a great Batman villain. She even has
You're right.
henchmen.
Holy shit.
She
has a gimmick and everything.
I'm
it's
pitching
funny.
that.
Yeah, right?
Disney was trying to make a Harley Quinn movie, and they did it. They just did it. The mad people over there at the House of Mouse just did it.
She's got an animal theme, right? She would be a Spider-Man villain.
The Dalmatian.
No, I haven't seen this movie, but I watched a review of it. My understanding is there's a lot of things in there that implies that they are trying to make an expanded universe or multiple movies related to this.
Of course.
That's nutty.
That's
the
how
Cruellaverse.
That's how movies work.
Nowadays,
Here's my thing though, and Sean will appreciate this. It's the last one, I promise. I'll let you get the show on track. Can you imagine, Sean? You get to the end of Cruella 2, right? Pan out, and it's Maleficent and Pete, and it's we want to talk to you about Kingdom Hearts.
We want to talk to you about
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts.
It's going to be an executive boardroom meeting. Kingdom Hearts 4.
I'm starting a team.
You know what, man?
It's called Kingdom Hearts.
I'm all in, dude. But it's got to be animated. That's the only thing.
Okay.
You can't have a live action Kingdom Hearts movie.
I feel like
Emma Stone says otherwise.
you just commit. You hard commit.
But who's gonna play Mickey? Like, how do you get that? How do you
Full
do that?
CGI, and it's what's his name? The guy who does
Gollum.
No, the guy from Planet of the Apes, and then he was
Yeah,
in...
Andy Serkis.
Andy
Oh,
Serkis,
is that what
yeah.
you said? I'm sorry. Yeah,
I said Gollum. That's Andy Serkis.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Andy Serkis plays Mickey Mouse. We just lean into it.
All right, well, you sold me.
You get Tom Hanks as Woody, obviously.
Full mocap Mickey is just a scary idea.
Oh man. You know, we actually have a lot of things to talk about on this show, believe it or not, today. It's not just going to be all about Disney movies and Kingdom Hearts.
And casting
No.
Kingdom Hearts. Maybe it should be, though. That sounds like a great episode.
We got our first true good look at Eternals. So we're going to be talking about that trailer. We know who's going to play Kraven in a solo movie, if you can believe it or not. There's an allegation going around that the manga Demon Slayer outsold the entire U.S. comics industry.
Hell.
And we're gonna be talking about whether or not comics fans even like comic books. So I know you don't. We've got a lot to talk about on this week's show. Before we get into all that, of course, I do want to let you guys know where you can find the show all over the internet and how you can support it. If you want to support the podcast, wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts, we're there. So check us out. While you're doing that, make sure that you hit the follow button and like this podcast. If you happen to be listening to us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. It's free to do. Share the video with your friends. Like the video. Drop us a comment. All those things are free, and they help us out a lot more than they cost you. If you want to chat with us, you can write to us at thecomicspals@gmail.com. You can also join our Discord server, where we're always having fun and engaging conversations over there. Point of fact, I have actually muted the Weeb Central channel, so I no longer have to be confronted
Probably the right move.
vicious and violent imagery that is associated with that channel. I'm done with it. I'm no longer interested.
It's just weeb stuff.
At this rate,
It's been one person of vomiting. That's it.
Just one.
It's been one picture.
That's more than I need.
That I have seen more than enough.
well,
Frankly.
Sean,
I'm
after
done
this
with
episode, you might have to read Demon Slayer, huh?
it. No, I won't be doing that. We do have a new book club out, dropped this past Tuesday. That is our Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter Circle book club. We reviewed the entire shebang. So if you want to hear us talk about the show or the book that just got a Netflix show, then go check that out. We had a good time with that. That was actually a listener submission, which it worked out because the show came out too. So that was pretty perfect. But Viltrum Warrior recommended that one. So thank you very much, Viltrum Warrior. It was a good time, good conversation. Go check it out for our thoughts. And then also Jupiter's Requiem is dropping really soon too. So if you guys want to hear us continue speaking about that universe of stories, let us know, because we can review that on our review show, which of course we drop the review show every single Sunday. And then our image reviews drop day and date every Wednesday. So check that out.
Interestingly enough, about the Jupiter's Legacy book club, we actually have a conversation there about sympathetic villains.
We do. That
Yeah.
is true. I think we have that conversation, though, very often. Speaking of our review show, if you're interested in our thoughts about Strange Adventures number 10, X-Men 20, Robin number 2, or Beta Ray Bill number 3, head on over to our review show, which it's out now, and you can listen to our thoughts about those books. Some really, really good stuff there. And you know what else? We've got listener comments. You guys are killing it. You've been very consistent with the commentary. We really appreciate that. Let's get into it. Pete, take it away.
All right. So this first one, this batch of comments here comes from episode 239 over on YouTube. This first one comes from dope_comics, who said, "Keep it up, guys. Good show." Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, dude.
Appreciate it.
I don't think so.
Thank you for your honest praise. This next one comes from Garrett Harshman, who said, "Would you guys ever consider a crossover with another comic book YouTube channel, i.e. Comic Pop, Variant, Comic Storian, or Comics Explained?"
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a channel that you guys want us to cross over with, let us know. Let them know. You know, make it happen. Speak our name. Speak our name.
Yeah, honestly, Garrett, I think you, the listener, have a lot more power in making something like that happen than we do. So, yeah, if you feel that way, reach out to them and us and let them know that you want to see us do some stuff together. We would be happy to collab with anybody who's cool.
We're trying to create an extended Pals universe, so
Exactly. We gotta start Kingdom Hearts. This next one comes from a newer listener, but already a legend in the community. Definitely not Sean Soapbox, who wrote in and said, "I think due to the
Rebecca wrote in again.
I think due to the multiple bad intros from Phil, the next episode should start off with the roast of Phil Casey, and in the end, have a replica Stanley Cup shipped to him."
You know what that means to me is that the only time I ever bring hockey up on this show is at the very end, very rarely. That tells me definitely not Sean Soapbox listens through the entirety of your show.
It's I appreciate
that.
It's a real fan.
Yeah. And I'll take the replica Stanley Cup, and I'll take a victory lap, damn it.
The roast of Phil Casey. I love that. That's something that we might have to do as a summer event.
So, start pay-per-view.
Yeah, last year we did the Newlyweds show for episode 200 or whatever. Maybe for episode 300 we do a roast of me.
250. I don't want to wait that long.
I don't even want to wait that long.
Yeah.
That's 60 episodes from now. I might be dead. We need to get to it.
250. That's coming up close. That gives me enough time to prepare my material, but not so long that I could still die, I guess.
He said, "I might be dead."
Yeah, dude.
Definitely not Sean Soapbox added to this. Kale deserves an original Rob Liefeld foot close-up. Okay?
I'll make bank off that Rob Liefeld foot. Don't even think.
So that, of course, there's a storyline here. Mm-hmm. Last week, Kale was very, very harsh toward me. Mm-hmm. And this tremendous listener, this kind soul, wrote in and praised me. And Kale, didn't support that. And, Kale, I really feel like you were being pretty harsh, man.
Listen, I listened back, and I don't think I was harsh enough. I asked for an honest assessment, and you did not give it to me.
So I feel like Sean and we get all the feedback from the listeners. This is the first time you get mentioned, Kale, and all you're getting for it is a close-up of a Rob
Hold
Liefeld
on.
photo.
You're talking to the number 5 fan here? This is not the first feedback I've ever gotten.
That's actually funny. But, Kale, I resent the idea that you keep saying that this is Rebecca writing in. First of all, she would never write in.
Do you mean resent or represent?
Resent, because I guarantee you she wouldn't write in. I guarantee you she doesn't know who George Perez is. That is just crazy to even think about. I'd be very happy if Rebecca knew who George Perez is. And frankly, I'll repeat this again. I think you're being really harsh, man.
Yep. Listen, I'm not going to back down. I'm sorry. You're not that good. Listen.
At what?
Listen.
Hosting?
You're a fine host. You really are. I admire your ability. You do good work, but you are not George Perez level good.
I'm going to reiterate what we told you last week is all you deserve is art from me, Kale.
Listen.
I'll draw you a pair of feet because I know you love feet. I'm going to get that out there. I'm going to make the listeners know that you love feet.
What's happening?
You think you're hurting me?
No. I'm helping
I know what I'm worth. Garbage.
I'll tell you what.
Garbage.
I think that the fact that I have been validated by the audience speaks for me more than anything that I can say for myself. So definitely not Sean Soapbox. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the kind words, my friend. And Kale, suck it.
2 words.
Still not an honest assessment.
I'll tell you what, though. Not everyone is pleased with this podcast.
Oh, I had it up to here with this guy.
On this show, you know, we're obviously very opinionated people, and as it turns out, so are you guys, and we appreciate that. So, Pete, why don't you read this negative comment that we
Sure, yeah, we got negged. This comes from Kalen Berriman over on our Radiant Black #4 review. And Kalen said, rough show, guys. The hate for Radiant Black is pretty out there. It's one thing to not love the direction, but to say that it's quote unquote sucked up until now is just asinine. It hasn't sucked. The scripts are objectively good. They're well written. Anyone who knows writing can tell you that. The art is fantastic. You come off as very shallow readers here. You didn't quote unquote waste your time with one protagonist for 3 issues. You were reading a story. You were getting to know Nathan and Marshall, learning about them and their relationship. With Nathan dead and Marshall left holding the powers of Radiant, his experiences with Nathan informed the story going forward. This is how long-form storytelling works. Were you guys bashing Ultimate Spider-Man when that came out too?
So, Pete, be honest with us. Were you so frustrated with the 4 of us being exhausted with Radiant Black that you decided to write under a pseudonym to tell us why we're wrong and why we're quote unquote shallow readers?
Definitely not loud_P.
Yeah, it's not definitely not. Come on, I would have to keep the bit going.
Yeah,
isn't the name in all caps too? He couldn't even hide his volume in the pseudonym.
Yeah, so it's funny because I actually replied to this comment because I was like, you know, man, did you listen to the whole conversation? Because I said I liked it. We actively praised the art, and you're going here like we lambasted the art too, and it's like that didn't happen ever. The one thing we've been not critical of the entire series has been the art.
Yeah, we've all had nuanced opinions on this too. It's been a spectrum of opinions. I mean, you can blast like 1 or 2 people have been outspokenly negative toward it. Like I think Kel has been frustrated. I know Sean's been exhausted with it. But you know, I think we've all been patient with it though. At the very least, you can say it's been 4 issues.
First of all, if you're going to blast us, at least do it appropriately. You're saying that we said it sucked.
Right.
Kale said it sucked. Okay, so I never want to receive the hate or the heat that should be directed at Kale. Give Kale all the curses. He deserves them. That aside,
I don't remember anything, so it won't hurt me.
I think that, you know, you don't get to tell me whether I wasted my time or not, quite frankly. If I feel like I did, then I did, and that's just the way it is.
Things also can't be objectively good. That's
Yeah.
not how taste works.
Yeah, and you know, you said we come off as shallow readers. You come off as arrogant
And condescending.
and yes, so you know, lots to learn, right? And I don't care if Nathan. I'm not going to spoil anything. Well, I guess it's kind of already been spoiled.
Yeah.
But I don't care if he comes back because I already feel like I wasted my time. There, I said it again. Big deal. Did I bash Ultimate Spider-Man when that came out too? I suppose you're referring to the fact that Peter died, and of course not. You know why? Because it was a story that unfolded over the course of many years.
Over 100 issues. Yeah, these are totally comparable situations.
They're not in any way the same thing. Like you could use that same idea to port in any time that a hero has died. It's not 1-to-1. It's just one event that's the same, but the circumstances are completely different. So no, I wasn't mad about that.
Unless he means like the first 4 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. And
that's
like,
what I took.
In which case, I don't remember. That was like 2003 or something.
What happened to those? He got his powers, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think that's what he's insinuating. It's a slow burn or something. Where he's like, it's storytelling. Look how that paid off. I don't know.
First of all, I read the first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man that I read was like 50 something. Okay, so I had no context for how it started, and then when I went back and read them, I already knew what was going to happen. So obviously, I didn't care about how it started. I have no idea how I felt about it because that was a really long time ago. I can only tell you what I feel now. And by the way, these podcasts would be really boring if all 5 of us came on here and said, you know what? I'm going to wait it out and see what happens.
For every single issue.
This is a show. And do I personally feel that invested in Radiant Black? No. If it wasn't for this podcast, I wouldn't read it. But I have to, and I have to have comments and opinions, so you're getting that. But I will say this. I will give you positive praise. I appreciate the fact that you wrote in, okay? And I appreciate the fact that you were honest. Because similarly, I don't need all the praise in the world. I can receive and accept some criticism as long as you can too. Thank you.
I can't, so keep it to your damn self.
That's right. Kale's got thin skin.
Thanks for writing in, Kalen. If we haven't lost you yet, hopefully you'll appreciate our thoughts on Radiant Black 5 a little bit more.
Yeah, keep coming back so Sean can roast your ass. I'm all for that.
It's all in good fun, right? We're talking about funny books.
Yeah. and I get it as good as I give it, so it's okay. But as I have said before on this podcast, and I will repeat it again, when you come at the king, you best not miss. And with that, we will get into the Pals polls. Kale called out DC Horror Presents The Conjuring, The Lover, #1.
What a terrible name for a book.
So this is DC's new horror line, I guess, which they're calling DC Horror Presents.
That's okay. That part's okay.
Well, yeah. So I guess the whole title is DC Horror Presents The Conjuring.
That part.
The Lover.
Yeah, that part's not so great.
Whatever. So it's a tie-in to the Conjuring films, which normally I would avoid like the plague. However, I really like the Conjuring films. And I recently have read a lot of film analysis about them. And so I'm very interested. And also, the fact that The Conjuring is the only set of films that has started like a Warren family paranormal universe is insane to me. Because the Warrens are rife with crazy material.
Oh, they're like con artists, kind of, actually.
They're quote unquote paranormal investigators. Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their story is incredible. Highly recommended.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm actually interested.
Sounds interesting, though, right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Amityville Horror, like in Long Island?
Yeah, by name.
Oh,
that was their like big thing was that house.
This married couple went and investigated it. It's like a well-known
exorcism case.
Yeah, well, and like it's like, well, I was gonna say it's like a well-known hoax. Like the family lied about it.
Yes.
Not that every exorcism story is a lie. It's just this one has been outed, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the Warrens like kind of risk like their whole like reputation on it, and like they come off with they're basically shysters.
Yeah.
But their reputations have like lasted through cinema. They're in all these Conjuring type movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
James Wan.
Yeah.
I think directs them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
Yes, I gotta watch it.
You gonna get scared, my man.
You just sold me more on a movie than a comic in the house.
Yeah, I don't even know what this book is about. I just know it's set in the Conjuring verse, so I'm gonna give it a shot.
John, Kayla already told us that he doesn't like comics.
Fair enough. He also chose Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy Volume 1.
Guess what? It's a Black Hammer tie-in.
Oh.
I don't know what this one's about either. It's a Jeff Lemire and Tonsi Zoniek, I think is how you say his name. I think it's Black Hammer's. It seems like Black Hammer's Batman and Robin. I actually have avoided this one like the plague so I could go in fresh. But I'm very excited it's finally out. So go jump on it unless you live where my comic book shop is in
All right.
All right.
Pete chose The Swamp Thing #4.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about the Swamp Thing. You can go check our reviews of the first 3 books. It has maintained its status as one of my favorite books I'm pulling right now. I think Rom V and Mike Perkins are doing, and then Mike Spicer on colors as well. Just a fucking dynamite creative team. And I'm really digging what they've been doing there. And if you've missed our reviews, go check those out. We also had the privilege of getting to have Rom V on a main episode of the show, and then we had Mike Spicer on for an interview as well. Oh, I'm sorry, Perkins for an interview as well. So if you want to listen to them talk about some of the process behind the book and everything, some really, really great illuminating conversations there. So I'm excited to see #4. I'm kind of like bummed that we're so far through it already, you know?
Well, the positive is that if the book is performing well, we'll definitely get a season 2.
Yeah.
And they have even crazier ideas, according to both of them, for season 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, so pick it up. I really love this book. We've all enjoyed it. If you go listen to our reviews, I don't really think we've had a bad word to say about it. So if Swamp Thing is your jam, or it's a character that you're not familiar with and you want a good jumping on point, I think this is both of those things. So go show your support, and let's get a season 2.
Very early in. I know that matters to people. I know it matters to me. This book is only 4 issues in. You can easily get the rest of the issues, and you don't have to be, Marco level Swamp Thing fan to appreciate the story being told.
I think even still, it just based on what happened in the last issue, it seems like issue 4 will be sort of the catch up on Swamp Thing's whole overall deal.
Yeah.
So this will probably be a great jumping on point.
I think it's a book that if you have the knowledge, you benefit from it, but you definitely don't need it to appreciate what is good about it, because just the mechanics of it are very good.
Indeed. You also chose Marauders #21.
Yeah, so there's this, and I think it's 2 other books this week. I think that are the start of the Hellfire tie-ins. And I know we've got all the fun Hellfire alternate covers starting to come out and everything. So we're kind of in the lead up to that. We've talked a lot about Marauders on this show, and that it's kind of been a mixed bag. But I am very excited by the Hellfire Gala, and I am eager to start kind of seeing some of those threads come together. I guess threads is technically a pun there, huh? Because it's a fashion show. Anyway,
the dots with the Dalmatians, but it's good.
Yeah, not as good, but pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Hellfire Gala is really the headline here for me. Is I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to start getting the hype for it.
What are you gonna wear?
I can't tell you now. I'm gonna surprise you.
Are we gonna do something, guys? Are we gonna do something?
Sure.
I just need to know.
Yes.
I might dress up. Who's to say?
Like I said, if you guys want to do that, feel free.
We'll do it.
A thing.
We'll do it.
Sounds good.
We'll make a messenger thread so we can chat about it.
Sounds good.
When is the Hellfire Gala start?
Proper?
Yeah.
I think it starts with Planet Size X-Men, which drops June 16th. I know this because that is my birthday.
Oh right.
Well,
okay.
You're gonna have a bad birthday, my friend.
I'm gonna start preparing for this.
This guy.
I'm gonna be real pretty.
I pulled Basilisk #1. This is by Cullen Bunn, with art by Jonas Scharf. Now, I am no fan of Cullen Bunn. I'm not a fan, but I'm not, just don't have a relationship to him. And he did some X-Men stuff that I didn't enjoy it. But I did enjoy, he has that one horror book we read when we interviewed Tyler Crook. What was the horror book? Kale, you would probably know it.
Marco's a big fan of
Harrow County.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to say
he's a big fan of that.
Marco loves that book.
Yeah. It's a tremendous book.
That was quite good. So this is a #1. I'm taking the plunge. Love horror. So I want to give this a shot. And I'll quickly read you guys the description of the book. Who can stop the Chimera? 5 individuals bound by a cult-like hive mind. They terrorize small towns with their horrifying supernatural sense-based powers, leaving death and destruction in their wake. Regan, one of the Chimera, escaped and has been in hiding with her murderous eyes bound, overcome with guilt, until now, when a victim from her past forces her to hunt down the other 4 of her kind.
Hell
That sounds
dude.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that does sound good.
Awesome.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. I could use some more horror in my comics. We've been reviewing The Silver Coin, which has been very good, and I'm down for this. It's a Boom book also. So Boom with probably another winner on their hands.
Seems that way.
Love to see it.
I also want to highlight Nice House on the Lake #1. This is a Black Label book coming from James Tynion IV.
Right.
Yes, and Alvaro Martinez Bueno on art. Another horror book. This one also seems interesting. Everyone who was invited to the house knows Walter. Well, they know him a little anyway. Some met him in childhood, some met him months ago, and Walter's always been a little off. But after the hardest year of their lives, nobody was going to turn down Walter's invitation to an astonishingly beautiful house in the woods overlooking an enormous sylvan lake. It's beautiful, it's opulent, it's private. So a week off, putting up with Walter's weird little schemes and nicknames and in exchange for the vacation of a lifetime, why not? All of them were at that moment in their lives when they could feel themselves pulling away from their other friends. Wouldn't a chance to reconnect be nice? Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm definitely again itching for more horror. James Tynion said that he considers himself to be a horror writer. So let's see what happens when he puts his money where his mouth is. Definitely down for this.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Because I mean, it's Something Is Killing the Children, right? Another really hot horror. That's a horror book as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. That's
I
great.
want to put this out there. You guys know I've got the Comics Pals Challenge, right? Where, you know, if you look at our list of book clubs and you can't find one that you like, you write in and you let us know, and we will do one of your picks. You pick a book, we'll do it. I'm putting out another challenge. We're starting a new challenge.
Oh,
Yeah.
Go
This
on.
is the Sean challenge,
Ooh.
right? So what I'm saying here is I go to Midtown every week and I buy books every week. But I buy the books that I'm interested in, and you know, I want to diversify. So if you have a book that you want me to read that is not a manga,
Important distinction.
Saw
Very
me about to
important.
chime in there, huh?
and it is a weekly release, it cannot be some trade or whatever. I'm not going to drop $20 for your, you know, weird book. I will read it, whatever it is. As long as it fits within that criteria, I will read it. And if you do that every single week, whatever book it is, I will come into this segment and I will speak about the book that you recommended me to read.
Wow.
Sean will burn your house down.
Give me your address and
I'll fucking burn your house down.
That is
yeah.
a threat.
That's the Sean Soapbox Challenge. Take it if you will.
Tough.
And
That'll be tough.
why?
A weekly book, or a monthly, I guess, a regular issue
Mhm.
that you would like.
That I'm not already reading, and my pull list is very large. So
Yeah.
you know, take that challenge if you will. We'll put that out on the Discord as well. I'm open to it if you guys have got some recommendations for me.
All right, definitely not Sean's soapbox. Good luck finding a monthly George Perez book for Sean to read. I don't think he's very active these days.
It'll be on Teen Titans Go on the next Teen Titans Go. He and Marv Wolfman. I just saw that.
There you go.
It's pretty cool.
Teen
So
Titans go #1. First Sean Soapbox Challenge.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
we're gonna get into the news here, and we're gonna actually start with our thoughts on the Eternals teaser that dropped this week. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you guys can watch along with us if you are watching on YouTube. We've got some thoughts about this hot new trailer that lit the internet ablaze this week. So if you guys are ready, let's get into it. Here we go.
In. This might take an eternity.
I get it.
Nice. All this beautiful stuff you're seeing right now, all this water, all this stuff is actually this was all real. They shot on location. Yeah, the director she enforced that. I'm forgetting her name right this minute.
There are some real nice drone shots in this trailer.
That's not real, I'm assuming. Whatever that craziness is.
What?
That just came
Chloe Zhao, by the way.
Thank you, Chloe Zhao. Yes,
Chloe Zhao. Zhao or Zhao?
Probably Zhao, actually.
It's with an H. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it's probably Zhao then. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Marvel movie.
No kidding.
Interesting.
They just showed Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan, yeah.
Yeah, she if she looks familiar to you, she played Minerva in Guardians.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're jumping around time a lot here, it looks like.
Definitely.
They are eternal after all, Phil.
That's right.
Yeah. Lots of really cool shots. The movie, this trailer doesn't give you a lot to go by as far as like story. Everyone's favorite Camille Nanjiani dancing there.
Fucking love that guy. I'm so excited to see him be a superhero.
Yeah. Marvel, if you're listening, pay me to get in amazing shape for like 6 months.
Please pay this doughy fucking podcaster that I am to become a superhero like you did with Kumail.
So, and this is a little joke I remember about leading the Avengers, right?
Yeah. They're joking about, God, I can never remember any of the Eternals' names.
Except for Jon Snow. He's Black Knight. I know that. I can't remember any other character.
Who's the main Eternal guy?
Icarus.
That's who that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, watching this trailer, the first thing I thought was, I have no idea what's happening. It's a kind of an unusual teaser because when you introduce us to something like the Eternals, which is a thing that even comic book fans aren't particularly familiar with. In fact, we had a bit back, like 150 episodes ago where I was like, what even are the Eternals? Mm-hmm. And we riffed on that for a while because the reality is, especially for Jack Kirby concepts, I feel like this is one of the lesser known kind of things in the Marvel universe. So I went back and I watched the first trailer of Guardians of the Galaxy, and they do a really good job of kind of just giving you the gist of what you're going to be dealing with. This is a lot more ambiguous.
Well, let's be fair before you go on. This is a teaser.
Yeah. I'm aware. It's just, let me ask you though, does this trailer intrigue you to want to see more? I don't know if it, other than like maybe your interest in the MCU, I feel like that's what they're really leaning in on here is like, people will just want to see more because it's MCU stuff. I was left feeling kind of like I still have no idea what's happening.
I feel
go ahead.
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm so glad you said that because there are a lot of people who have been ragging on people who didn't necessarily enjoy this teaser. And I don't really know that there was much here to enjoy. I don't even really necessarily think that's the point of this teaser. I think the point of this teaser is to put this on your radar that this is a movie that's coming. We still haven't seen Black Widow. They're not going to give away the whole shebang here right now. They want us to kind of ruminate on it and ask those questions that you just brought up. So did I enjoy this teaser? No, but I don't think that that's bad. And I don't think that was necessarily the point. I think it was just to introduce us to some of the loose ideas that the movie is toying with and keep everything else reserved for a more appropriate time. But, was this like a great teaser? I don't think so.
I think a teaser though is kind of meant to want you to see more. And I didn't feel really anything watching this teaser. I just watched it and I was like, okay, and I moved on. Like it didn't. For me, it didn't really light that intrigue as much. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm biased in this because like I just generally don't care about teasers and trailers all that much. But like I think especially when you're talking about teasers, like this reminds me a lot of our reaction to the Loki teasers, right? There were like 2, I want to say, Loki teasers before the first proper trailer, and we all pretty much echoed the exact same opinion of, yeah, like I'll watch this, sure. I don't know if I need more Tom Hiddleston. I don't know that I care about this. This is the least interesting of the 3. And then when we got the first actual trailer and it was actually like talking about what it was going to be about and exploring like, oh, it's actually about time and this and that and whatever. Like we all expressed like, oh, it actually looks more interesting now. You did, Phil. You did. So you might not be hyped for it, but you said that trailer was more interesting to you. So I feel like it's the same kind of thing with this, where it's like, to Sean's point, this is the elevator pitch, right? This is, you've heard the name Eternals. That doesn't mean anything to you? Okay, well, here's some broad strokes. Look at them in costumes. Here's Angelina Jolie. And great. We'll show you more later. Okay, cool. I'll pay attention then.
Yeah, and also I think, there's a big difference between Marvel Studios pre-Guardians and Marvel Studios pre-Eternals, in the sense that, you're going to see the trailer for the full-fledged trailer for Eternals. So they can bank on that now. Whereas with Guardians, I don't know that they had as much cachet. And by the way, this teaser, 77 million views.
Oh my God.
Which at the time that it reached that number was more views than pre-pandemic films had got. So that's pretty good.
People are ready to go to the movie theater, I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think people are ready to see Marvel movies again. And I think like to the point you just made about like pre-Guardians, right, Sean? The Guardians had something to prove, right? Like
everyone kept joking that, this is going to be Marvel's first, box office failure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's going to be Black Widow.
So yeah, I think like with Eternals, like I think Marvel knows that they don't need to sell us as much as they used to. Like we're in, we're here, we're doing it. Like we're making an Eternals movie that says like how far we've come.
The other thing this trailer elicits is kind of the thing that people have been saying about the X-Men, where it's like, how will you be able to introduce the X-Men in a very well-established kind of universe like that? The premise seems to be something along the lines of, the Eternals are now kind of emerging to Earth or whatever because of an upcoming threat or whatever reason, and they've been around this entire time, perhaps, as it looks like, kind of guiding civilization softly with like a kind of a soft stroke, so to speak. People are saying things like, well, where were they during the whole Thanos thing then?
Yeah.
So that's another question.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have to contextualize that. It is what it is, right? Like you can ask the same question about anything, right? Like where was the where was the Immortal One when New York was under attack and one of the 3 sanctums could have been destroyed, right? Like you can sit here and ask that question about anything, and it's just like, either suspend your disbelief or you don't. They're going to give us an explanation, and you'll either accept it or you won't.
Well, this is the first time I think that moviegoers have really, really been confronted overtly with that idea.
Yeah.
And this is something that comic book fans just naturally accept. We get it. So in this trailer, they specifically mentioned that the Eternals have stayed out of human issues, human conflicts until now. And I think that for, people who don't have the context, it's perfectly acceptable that you're asking that question. But if you do, then you understand that the reason they're most likely now revealing themselves is because of Thanos and his activities. He's a deviant. Their whole deal is dealing with deviants, so I think that's what's gonna draw them out. So yeah, interesting. We'll have more to say whenever the first official trailer drops. But for now, this didn't do too much for me. Weird to see Angelina Jolie though, by the way.
Right.
Dude, I was thinking about that the other day. Like when I watched this the first time, I was like, I feel like she's like in the midst of like mounting a kind of renaissance for herself as an actor.
Perhaps I would say she was one of those mega A-listers 10 years ago that you don't see as much of nowadays for whatever reason, like the Tom Cruise level ilk of star. So perhaps this is like her chance to mount a comeback, but it's always weird to see a celebrity like that, or Michelle Pfeiffer in Ant-Man 2, for instance, in these movies.
Sure.
It's a little jarring.
I don't know. It's kind of funny because like I think it is when it is and it isn't when it isn't, because like you think about like the first wave of movies, right? Like Robert Downey Jr. was a similar kind of caliber, right? Where he had been an A-list star and then had a drug problem and went away for like 2 decades and then mounted an insane comeback and became an A-lister in Hollywood again, but it's not like he was nobody.
But Angelina Jolie has such a presence and a grace about her that's never diminished, whereas Robert Downey Jr.'s whole identity was tarnished by what he had been through, and
That's
I think
fair.
he had done some movies that were not the greatest while he was going through his stuff. So
and he like disappeared from the limelight for a long time too.
Whereas like I don't feel like she's disappeared as much as she's just kind of like been doing other things, and like like she was in Maleficent and everything. It's not like she hasn't been in movies. It's just there was a point where she was fucking everywhere, and I feel like she's kind of angling for that again. She looks great. The fucking platinum blonde hair on her, she looks insane.
Agreed.
It's like the moment you see a Leonardo DiCaprio or a Brad Pitt or whatever, or Tom Cruise, like I said, it's going to be like, oh shit, wow, look at this person in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, like this is a fucking movie star.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Spider-Man, a character that we all are familiar with. We get it already, right? So Spider-Man No Way Home is a movie that people are obsessing over. They want to see a trailer really, really badly. Marvel's been having some fun with fans. If you follow their Twitter page, they've been posting some meme things, suggesting that here's a clip from the trailer, but it's actually nothing. But behind the scenes, on the ground level, we've got so many different reports about what this movie is actually going to be. And I've been trying my best as someone who is obsessed with what is going to happen in this film to keep myself from talking too much on this podcast about it. But this week I couldn't hold back because it's being reported by Collider, Jeff Snyder, who is of Collider, and obviously I'm sure you've heard of Collider, very well known bunch over there. That he's suggesting that Willem Dafoe is going to lead the Sinister Six in this movie.
Let's fucking go, boys! Are you kidding me? Right? Doc Ock cameo, hype. Sure, we love it. Willem Dafoe, though?
You know what? That might get me to see this movie.
You have to watch the first two now, Kale.
Hold on. No.
He's one of the greatest character actors of the last 30 years. He's so fucking good.
Yeah, this is hype. This is
truly hype.
Yeah. Now, we've talked here before about, what is the Sinister Six going to look like? Why and all that, and the new reports are saying, and again, coming from Snyder, is that the No Way Home title doesn't even actually reference Spider-Man. It references his villains, and all the Sinister Six are villains from the other movie universes who get sucked into the MCU and don't have a way out.
Fuck.
That sucked. That's kind of dark, yo.
It is, and it's sick, and it definitely makes me think that the other two Spider-Men will be cameos. You could totally imagine a scene, right, where you see Toby, he's going toe-to-toe, and then all of a sudden, sucked through, and that's it, and he's like, oh, shit, what the fuck?
Oh, so you're suggesting that they're not.
Like
Well, you wouldn't
real-
need them for that necessarily. Then you could just have them in masks. You could,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, for sure. But I bet you they want to have them in it just for like the pop of like, you know, like I could totally imagine it's you see the Raimi suit, he's fighting, and then he pulls his mask up and he's like, what the hell? And then it's, cut back to the MCU, you know, and like we don't really even like spend much time with them. I'm not
That's a
saying that that'll
waste.
definitely happen, but I could see that being the case.
Especially with the caliber of the amount of people who are also rumored, you know, your Emma Stone, your Kirsten
Sure.
Dunst.
That's a good
That-
point.
Yeah, that seems a bit wasteful.
Oh shit, Corella's gonna be in this movie.
Oh God, the crossover we're all dreading. So
Well,
the team, the rumored team, is Green Goblin again, Willem Dafoe.
We know this.
Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, who was confirmed. He confirmed himself. We know that's happening. Thomas Hayden Church is Sandman.
Wow, shit.
Believe
What?
That.
Okay.
Yeah. Notably, no Venom. No Venom.
he's not a member of the Sinister Six.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Didn't he notoriously bite Sandman and poison him
Wasn't
on one of their
that,
outings?
Fuck.
Or did he bite Hydro Man? He did one of
Wasn't
those.
that Matt Gargan though? Not Eddie Brock.
Yeah, you maybe, but you know, Venom has been a member of the
They have
Sinister
it.
Six. Kale, get it right.
Speaking of which,
I don't read.
Scorpion, right, is one of them. You would imagine, no?
Well, no. According to this,
Okay.
according to the report, Lizard,
Oh, okay.
played by Reese Ifans.
I hated that fucking design in Amazing Spider-Man.
Man,
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah.
awesome. I really did.
Yeah, I
And
was
then
just happy
Jamie
to have the
Foxx's-
Lizard, yeah.
Jamie Foxx's Electro and
Cool.
Paul Giamatti's Rhino. Ugh,
Also from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Really?
that's rough.
Okay.
That's
I
six.
mean,
Yeah, that's six.
yeah, but like, no Vulture?
Well, if the report is true, then this would make sense because it's only villains who have no way of getting home, no way of getting back to their home
Sure.
universes.
Okay.
Now, I wonder, does this have anything to do with the fact that Vulture appears in the Morbius trailer? Because, you know, Morbius, of course, is a character who's in the Sony universe
The Venom.
of Marvel characters. So if Vulture's appearing in that, did he like swap places with one of these villains? Is that what they're going with?
Or is it an alternate universe version of him? You know?
Is Vulture responsible for the Sony hack?
No,
I don't think so.
Actually, Green Goblin 2 is responsible for the Sony hacks. My man, what's his name? Who? Come on. Who plays, Harry Osborn.
Fuck.
In the-
Franco.
the-
Not Phil DeFranco. That's a
Franco.
YouTuber.
James Franco.
James Franco.
James Franco.
My man James Franco caused the Sony hacks. Green Goblin.
God bless him.
That's funny. I was thinking of the Harry Osborn from the Andrew Garfield film.
Yes, that's who I was trying to think of as well.
Oh God, no. Yeah. So this is the rumor. I am into this, although I do wish they were going to include some amount of, as Pete pointed out, more recent villains, or even maybe someone we haven't seen before. But if this is the direction that they're gonna go, I really like. Yeah, please give me Willem Dafoe. You know?
It's hype. Yeah. It'll be insane to see this come together if everything that we think is happening, it's going to be, I think it's going to be like a wow factor moment on the level of like the first Avengers or like the fucking, you know, portal scene at the end of Endgame. Like it's going to be one of those like, holy shit. Like they really made this one happen, huh? Like Kevin Feige is out here.
Word.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Marvel villains all the time. I think Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is like he's in the all-time
you
greats
fucking kidding me? Yeah.
of cinematic
Incredible.
villains.
I would go out on a limb and I would say that Spider-Man has 2 of the top 5. Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alfred Molina. I mean, that was a great performance too.
Yeah, talk about sympathetic villains.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, holy
Well,
shit.
Let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Okay.
Let's do the top 5 villains in Marvel movies.
Marvel movies, and so does that include pre-MCU Marvel
All
movies?
okay.
Okay.
All Marvel.
I mean, I would say
Yeah, that's not that hard.
Go for
Green
it.
Goblin, Doc Ock,
Magneto.
Thanos,
I would say both
and
Magnetos. I would
Loki.
say Michael Fassbender and Ian McKellen's Magneto.
Ooh.
Let's
Yeah.
give it to Ian McKellen just because I think you pick one.
You want to pick
Seniority.
one? Okay.
Yeah, I think we pick one, and then I agree with Kelly. Put Loki as the five.
Uh,
Killmonger though.
Killmonger.
He's up there.
I definitely like him more than Loki, than Tom Hiddleston's Loki. Thanos too. It has to be in there.
He said that.
Kill. Yeah,
Okay,
Kill.
sorry.
That was the third one. I think
Yeah, Killmonger take over Loki's spot. That don't bother me at all.
I could see bumping.
Do we count television and Marvel villains? Because that would include Kingpin if we were to expand it to that.
No, Sean did
I
say
think we stick
movies.
with the films.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because otherwise, yeah, he's in there for sure. Honorable mention we'll give him because holy fucking shit, does Vincent D'Onofrio play the goddamn Kingpin?
Let's see.
It's tough. It's because I think it's easy to pick a 4. It's knocking one off that's hard for me.
Y'all gotta get on my page.
I think yeah, it might actually not. I'm trying to think about all the different villains, but I can't think of anybody else who really fits the bill.
I mean, Vulture was excellent too. I feel like I'm kind of inclined to put him in there.
I think he's great, but I think
Killmonger.
the other ones we listed are
But
better.
over Loki, maybe.
I
But
don't
then
think
that's
so.
it.
Yeah.
There's only the 5 spots. If you're saying the 2 Spider-Man villains, Thanos,
Magneto.
and then Killmonger. That's it.
That's
So
it. I think that's the 5. I think that's it.
Yeah. I think and then I would say Vulture is a solid 6.
Yeah. Him and Loki could be our honorable mentions.
I think I'd give it to Loki over.
Yeah, I guess you have.
Just because I mean, like, I think it's really easy to like look on it now, where like we've seen so much of the character and like downplay how good it was at the time. Because I think like he has presence in a way that was hard to ignore.
Have you guys seen the Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark?
I sure have, Kayla. I saw it live.
I
Sinister
saw it live.
Six.
Yeah,
You saw it too, Sean?
live?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Sean.
Oh.
What I wouldn't give to go back in time and have that be the first episode of the Comics Pals, our review of that fucking movie. or
Yeah.
play. So fucking bad. Did somebody get hurt when you saw it? Or did you?
No.
Me neither. I really wanted to not that I wanted to see it, but like that happens so often, Like they went through like 5 Spider-Men in the first couple weeks of that fucking show.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kim.
I was just gonna say I've literally only seen the clip that it was on one of the late shows. Then it's the song that introduces the Sinister Six, and I am obsessed with that Green Goblin.
It's so bad. It's so unbelievably bad.
Love it, and the made up villains. Was there a Scissor Sister or whatever the fuck?
That was kind of rough. I didn't hate the experience though. I kind of had a good time.
Oh, I had a good time watching
I
it.
fucking bet.
But it's bad. But the Scissor Sister, I remember I was just like, what are you fucking kidding me? There's like 90 Spider-Man villains that you had to make up Scissor Sister?
Yeah.
You know who else was a good villain I want to highlight, just kind of put a bow on this, was Colonel William Stryker from X2, who was all about like the
Yes.
mutant genocide.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yes.
He was really, really good too.
He's not like a standout, but Thunderbolt Ross is pretty solid too.
From the Hulk movie.
Yeah.
You could sell me on that any day. I love Thunderbolt Ross. I love William Hurt who played him.
Great
I thought
great
that was-
choice.
I didn't bring it up. Yeah.
He's like a perfect pick for that character.
Red Skull from First Avenger was also excellent. Hugo Weaving.
What a shame. If
Yeah.
you could have, and this is what kills me about that damn Captain America movie, because if you could have gotten Hugo Weaving playing Red Skull in a modern setting, which is what we should have gotten,
I want that.
that would have been mind blowing.
Captain.
I mean, you could have done the same shit you did in the comics where, Red Skull is on ice and he comes back too, just like Captain America.
Yeah.
But Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back, as evidenced by the fucking Avengers movie where they had to recast him for what a crazy cameo.
But like, who cares? You could have replaced him. They fucking replaced Rhodey. Like, they replaced the Hulk. We got over that. Like, those are far more central characters than Red Skull.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the reason Red Skull didn't reappear is not because Hugo Weaving didn't come back.
It might have been.
I think they don't necessarily. I don't even know if it's that. I think they generally don't.
Yeah.
They don't play the hits too often with the villains.
Yeah.
With the exception, obviously, of Loki and Thanos, they tend to keep to. You know, that's changing now, but back then, certainly it was like one and definitely done.
Yeah.
Or one and maybe one more, but. Speaking of villains, this is absolutely the villain that I would replace almost anyone on the Sinister Six list for, and it's a shame that he's not going to be in this movie, and that's Kraven.
I love that you feel that strongly about Kraven. I love Kraven.
Great.
He's such a
really
good character. He's so fun.
Kraven's Last Hunt is the most famous Spider-Man comic for a reason.
I think that there's a very easy way to get him in the team. I don't know that they intend on doing that, but like for me personally, and we're gonna get to the announcement in a second, but like if you just killed Rhino off in like the first 20 minutes, right? And then they were like, oh, we need someone else, and Willem Dafoe is doing his research and he finds that there's this hunter, out in wherever, and he goes and grabs Kraven from the what's the Savage Lands?
Yeah.
Grabs him. And he gets on the team. That'd be great.
Can you imagine? It's just like a one quick shot of the Savage Lands, and it's just fucking Kraven killing a T-Rex or whatever, and then
that'd be sick, dude.
and then he's just like getting the fucking plane.
Yeah, that's the stuff I want. But instead of that cool shit that we just booked, we're getting Aaron Taylor Johnson playing Kraven in the Solo movie for Sony.
Boy,
So
talk about shit.
that is one of those sentences where it's like, I'm like, okay, no, fuck, damn it.
I don't know how I feel about Aaron Taylor Johnson playing Kraven even.
I don't know. Like, you look at the pictures of him that they have in the comicbook.com article that Sean linked to. Like, I can kind of see it.
Yeah?
I feel like if you give him the goatee, like,
Yeah, but
he's got the look.
I don't know.
My thing is there any chance we can get away from this guy in Marvel properties? Like, my God, this is the third. This is his second. Well, he was Quicksilver.
He was Quicksilver and Kick-Ass.
And Kick-Ass. Okay, so not just Marvel, but just superhero properties in general. Like, please.
He's done a lot.
He was in Godzilla too.
Opposite Elizabeth Olsen.
Yep.
Yeah, which came out the same year, weirdly enough.
Yep.
Odd.
I feel like you could do a better casting. I don't know. When I think of Kraven, I think of like a really rugged dude. Not that Aaron Taylor Johnson's not like rugged, but I'm thinking like I don't know who's like a Stallone type, but now you know what I mean?
Like a Nick Offerman on steroids.
Yeah. Like a Schwarzenegger type. That's who needs to be Kraven. Like it's got to be like a big fucking libertarian type guy who's like the greatest game of all is man.
Yeah, but like, who is that? Like every actor you just named is like a 50-year-old man.
I know. There's guys like that exist. I would have to like really get down and like look into it.
You get a wrestler to do it, maybe.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Pull like a Batista.
I guess it's
That'd be
tough.
sick. Dave Batista would be sick.
Not Dave Batista though. He can't do it. He's too old.
He's burned his bridges.
Because Kraven he looks kind of old-ish.
Yeah.
But he also obviously is not a regular human in the sense that he does have powers. So it's kind of
fit
hard
as fuck.
Right. You're not going to find a ton of 50-year-old guys who are that like ripped and can go the way that someone needs to go to play Kraven.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe. No, Kevin Sorbo.
No, fuck Kevin Sorbo. Fuck that guy.
Kevin Sorbo, get the fuck out of here.
The whole like solo movie for Kraven thing is just it's a well-worn conversation. I don't think it's necessary. I think that you can do it literally, right? And Venom proved that these movies can function, but it's
Don't mean they
unnecessary.
should.
Right, exactly.
And it's also like Venom is like the worst proof of concept of that idea because it's the character that it works the best with.
Yeah, right.
Right? Of like, oh, see, this worked. That means we can do it with these other characters. It's like, fucking no. Like, that's
Like
that.
the amount of characters you have before Kraven that would work with is pretty long.
I'll be honest, and this was the whole argument back when Venom was in development, is like it could be good. Like anything could be good.
Stop it, Phil.
The issue is I'm not incredibly confident in it being good.
No, and it's unfortunate because the characters that they're choosing to highlight for these solo movies, I really don't think lend themselves to them. But with the exclusion of Morbius, who's a character I just really don't have strong feelings about.
You like the actor playing him though?
I sure don't. The other characters on that list, on that short list of like Kraven and Black Cat and Silver Sable are like great characters, and it's such a bummer to think that they're going to be like wasted on these movies where they can't really be themselves, or at least not like the best version of themselves that you could imagine. Is super frustrating because like I love Black Cat. I would love a movie like a Spider-Man movie that heavily features Black Cat. That would be awesome.
I would even turn my nose up to a Black Cat film. She's interesting.
Sure. But I don't know. It's like it just sucks to think that like we're not going to get Kraven in the Sinister Six fighting Spider-Man, that he's going to be a movie about him hunting something? Like, what is that movie even about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what does that even look like? Like, at least Morbius, it's like, well, he's a vampire. Like, you could understand how they could tell a story there that's divorced from Spider-Man. But, like...
You want the dumbest movie of all time, you would do Kraven versus Predator.
All right. Okay.
You know what? I'll say it. I'll put my foot down. I don't care who doesn't like it, Phil's brother or not. Kraven's going to suck.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Don't let John Casey know.
You said Radiant Black has sucked, and you got massive hate. Maybe that word should just not be in your vocabulary, dude.
Hey, bring on that Radiant Black guy. I'll say
up?
it again.
What's up?
Kraven's going to suck.
Fine, you know what? I'll put my foot down too. Could be good.
Oh, here we go.
What a bold take.
Measure.
The Venom Wars all over again.
Oh boy, I can't wait. When does Kraven come out? I need that now.
Lean the fuck in, Kale. Lean into this hatred. And then when it comes out, just be like, you know what? It's pretty good.
2023. If I'm still here, if we're still here, remember that, because we're gonna be on this podcast, and if Kale is wrong, if Kraven doesn't suck, because you said suck, if it doesn't suck, you're gonna have problems on this podcast. You better miss that week. You better not show up to that review. I'm telling you right now.
The shit I get anyway. You think I?
Okay.
I mean, Sean, I think you just posed the easiest.
You think between now and then, I'm not gonna say something stupid that's gonna get me in deeper shit?
Something worse.
You dummy. We've been here for 5 years.
I just love that Sean's just like, you better not show up that episode, which has just got to be the easiest challenge that you could pose to Kale of all time to not come to the show.
on all the Spider-Man reviews we've done, I've never been on one.
Why change it?
That I can do all the half measures and just kind of slide my way out of it. Oh, it could be good, and then I just slide away.
Fucking coward.
Let's talk about Inferno, huh?
Okay.
So we finally know, and we're not going to spoil anything here, but based on X-Men 20 and how that book ends, it ends with a tease for a new title called Inferno. This appears to be the Jonathan Hickman book that had a question mark associated with it, that we saw in their like list of books that were coming out over the course of the next year for X-Men. There was one Hickman book that didn't have a name, and now we know it's Inferno. The teaser, we can discuss the image. It's got the title Inferno in big letters, and inside of that you can see images, and then also underneath that there's also an image, so we can see Magneto and Professor Xavier on one end speaking to each other. In the middle we can see Mystique yelling, she's clearly upset. On the right of that we can see Emma Frost looking gleeful as ever, and under that we can see who appears to be Moira with a baby. What
the fuck is that about is my question.
She got pregnant. What's the big deal?
Pete's like, where do babies come from?
We also got the slogan, the biggest secrets of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run will burn away in Inferno.
Fucking finally, let's go.
That's crazy. All right, let's do it.
This is so exciting, and you know, please tune over if you care about these X books. Tune over to our X-Men 20 review, because we're gonna blow the lid off all that and talk about it. I'm gonna spoil right now the fact that I love that issue. It was amazing, and you know, you need to read it. Like it is required reading if you are following the X-Men stuff. This is what we've been waiting for, and Inferno seems like the book to read. I can't wait for fall. I frankly, let's just skip the Hellfire Gala. Like, wait, I'm gonna
what? You're over it?
Don't even care. Wake me up when September ends, and let's get into Inferno.
Let's do it.
Before we go.
That's right. 2 song references. So here's a question. This, as the article points out, is a reference to an older X-Men event, a classic X-Men event. Do you think in any way, you know, Krakoa has this tendency of bringing back all the X-Men things of yore, that we could see the Goblin Queen?
I mean, they've been teasing her for a while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I would say, yeah. I think almost certainly.
In Way of X, there's a tease of Onslaught for all, you know, bring all the old X-Men things.
So can I tell you guys my theory? Can I get on my soapbox here and put my tinfoil hat on?
Oh, hey, Phil, we gotta get the soapbox out. You go ahead and push it.
All right.
Oh, here. No, I got one here. Hold on.
Just give it to Sean.
Here, Sean, here. Stand on it. There you go.
Yeah, okay, got it. So my thing is this, all right? You take all the things you guys just referenced and you put them together. I believe what will happen is Mystique is going to, in my opinion, likely use her powers to shapeshift and become Professor Xavier or Magneto, and request that the 5 revive Destiny immediately. Oh. And that will cause, obviously, Destiny to say, you know, oh my God, you know, it actually happened. You know, Moira, you know, McTaggart is behind all of this.
It's about to spill those fucking beans.
Right. Which will lead to a civil war in Krakoa that will lead to Professor Xavier and Magneto becoming basically ousted, and the stress and pressure of everything that goes on there, with maybe the death of Magneto or something along those lines, leads to Onslaught. Oh. That's my theory. And then that's how Krakoa maybe doesn't necessarily end, but the Magneto and Professor Xavier part of it ends in Onslaught.
Let me ask you a follow-up question, since we're doing theories. Who's the father of Moira's baby?
Shit. I don't even want to speculate.
Is it even information for that? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough information for that, but I do think that when you ask that question, and it's not my theory, it's just where my mind went. They did talk a lot about her romance with Charles in the original run, like of House and Powers, and I'm
different life though.
Yeah, but not for her. You know?
Yeah. But no, it's not a different life. she does have a relationship with Charles in this timeline, because everything that we have ever read, like every X-Men comic book, is still this timeline. So she did have a relationship with Charles. My thing is, the reason why I have to discount that is because, and by the way, I'm not convinced that's even Moira's baby that we're seeing there.
Yeah, but, who the fuck knows, right?
I think that she explicitly says that she severed that relationship in favor of emboldening him to do Krakoa.
That's right.
And the implication that I have gotten based on, and I think we all got them, based on her writings that were in House and Powers, is that she kind of like doesn't like them anymore.
Yeah.
She's not that into them as people.
Oh, wait a minute. What about Hope?
What about Hope?
Where is she at right now?
She's a grown woman.
Okay, never mind. Because I was thinking that, because isn't Cable's connected to Inferno, right? Like the original event?
I don't know. Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
We got to read that as a primer, by the way.
Might as well, yeah.
We should.
This summer. It's about to be hot. It's going to be an Inferno.
Okay.
Just going from.
You know what? It says this right here. It's this is from the Games Radar article. It says there's a baby shown near Moira, and we don't know who this infant may be. The baby's inclusion could be a teaser about an important mutant birth, or it could even be that Moira herself being reborn, as that's happened numerous times in the past. Interestingly enough, a baby was kind of at the heart of the original Inferno, which dealt with Cyclops' ex-wife Madeline Pryor, with whom he had a son who grew up to be Cable.
There it is, folks.
So
there it is.
Yeah, maybe there's some kind of. I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of Caleb. I almost just said cable connection there. I don't know. It's interesting though.
Yeah, very exciting. And in a little bit we're going to talk about whether or not fans even like comics at this point, and how down on the industry everyone seems to be across the board. But I'll tell you what, when I read this comic book last night, the like visceral emotion and the like joy that I felt, and all the different emotions that I felt reading this 20-something page comic book, is proof positive of the power of these things. And I'm excited like I'm 15 about the story that's unfolding in these X books. And find that for yourself. Like, what is that for you? Where is that in comics for you? Like, for me, this is where it is. Find that for yourself. And that's what we all have to be looking for. And I think that's what I'm always looking for. And that's where I get tripped up, is I want all of comics to be that. And it's just not,
Yeah.
But this is.
I'm really sad. Why can't we go back to Ten of Swords? That was real hype.
One last quick thing I did want to mention about this is that the drawing of the baby in particular is definitely Mahmoud Asrar. He definitely is the one who drew that, because a month ago he posted on Twitter an image of him, an image of a drawing of a baby that he had done, and it's the exact same baby.
Interesting.
He said, "Man, I fucking love drawing babies."
So to be a dad, I guess.
So yeah, I don't know. I can't wait for all this. This is the most exciting thing.
We're back on track. We've been talking about this forever, and a couple weeks ago on our main topic, we talked about what makes Marvel exciting, and everything else is not very invigorating. But the X books for the first time in 20 years is finally interesting, and they're the main event, folks. And
I tell you, I've been excited all week since reading X-Men 20 to talk about it.
There you go. Kel's never excited
in the way that I haven't been excited since House and Powers.
Yeah, absolutely. So something unique that DC is announcing. Quiet week for DC, pretty much. But I wanted to highlight this because I do think this is pretty cool. DC has announced a book called Batman: The World, and it's a hardcover anthology book, a one-shot that I frankly I've never heard of this before. Basically, what they're doing is they're going to have several stories in this book, and each one of them is a Batman story in a different part of the world, written and drawn by a creative team from that part of the world.
What?
That's wild.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's a great idea.
So each these are the places, the areas of the world that are participating. North America, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, the Czech Republic, Russia, Poland, Turkey, Mexico, Brazil, China, Korea, and Spain. That is 14 different regions of the world.
Sean, real quick, you said Spain twice. The last one was Japan.
I'm sorry, Japan. Whoops.
Weird mix up.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens.
Just really hates manga, you know?
I always wanted to go to Japan.
Me too.
The cover of this book is pretty cool. So it's these like, I don't know, statues holding up the globe, and Batman's sitting on top of it. Notably, Batman's face is not visible, and I think that's to kind of, allow for him to be drawn in the likeness of any of these places. And I love that. That's really cool.
I love how you can't see his face, but it still has the insane definition on like the brow shape, and you can still see the fucking crown of his head and everything. Awesome.
This kind of story really lends itself to a type of Batman story that I've always been very fond of. The type of Batman story where it's like people in Gotham, for instance, kind of like telling their experience of seeing the Batman around the city, like the kind of folklore element of Batman. This kind of has that element of it where it's like at this point in real life, Batman is arguably the most recognizable comic book character in the entire world, and this gives that kind of folklore, larger than life, mythological angle of the character where it's like, oh well, this is what Batman means to a person in the Czech Republic of all places.
Yeah,
I
Very
think
neat.
it's funny. There's a quote from Jim Lee that's like very kind of like echoing that statement, and it I don't know, maybe it's a thing that makes more sense in like a press release, but it feels so like obvious to say. Like it's like Batman has grown into a true pop culture icon known the world over. It's like, yeah, Jim,
We know.
It's fucking Batman.
Like, the way it makes it sound is like it just recently happened.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, it's been really cool to see Batman blow up these last couple
5 years.
This Bat character's really grown. Have you guys noticed this?
Batman is probably less culturally relevant right now than he's been in the last like 50 years, and he's still a big fucking deal.
Hey, I was just thinking about this the other day, but I think this Batman character might be bigger than Betty Boop.
Maybe so.
The creative teams are announced across the board, but frankly, we don't know them. We don't know if I said the names, they wouldn't have relevance to most of us just because they're creators from their respective regions.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that this is happening. I think it's great. And then also each region will get their own cover.
Oh, I like that too.
Okay,
That's
I want
interesting.
to collect all the covers. That would be such a cool collection.
That's a mission.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna do it though. Some crazy motherfucker. I thought it was cool too that it says that they have like international publishing and distribution partners. So it's like they're partnered with all these like major publishers in whatever the given region is. It's like you got the coordination for this project's got to be fucking insane.
Yeah.
Well,
Sean and Kale, I know
for North American comics, you're fucking right.
Sean and Kale, have either of you ever read any of the Bat mangas that came out in like the 2000s, early 2010s?
I have it, but I haven't read it.
I read one of them. It was like a friend had it, and I was like perusing it at their home. I don't really remember it super well, but I remember it was very like striking to see. It is cool to see characters that are like well known in the West be interpreted through the lens of like Eastern comic tradition.
That's an interesting question. So there is a tradition of Batman comics being published in a manga style. And right now in the Robin comics, there are references to kind of manga style of art. I wonder if the Japanese portion of this will be, in fact, like a manga.
Not only references, but
Probably.
the character Lord Deathman is Flatline's
Dad or mentor?
mentor, I guess.
Mentor,
yes,
I think,
yeah. And I think I could be pretty wrong about this, but I think Lord Deathman originated in those Bat manga.
I think you're right. I think he did.
That sounds like a manga character named Lord Deathman.
He's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
That is neat though.
This is a great announcement, and again, sometimes on this podcast, DC is the butt of jokes and stuff, and this is definitely a time where I really want to commend them for doing something just unique, just really cool.
I'm really excited to read this. I feel like at the very least it'll be an extremely like unique and edifying type of experience just to like get a taste of all these different comic styles, from all over the world.
Not to be selfish, but after this I would love to see a Superman one.
I mean,
that's so selfish.
I feel like that would be great though.
Yeah.
God, Phil.
Frankly, if this is good, do it with every fucking major character. Like, this is a dope idea.
All right, Pete, that's just gluttonous.
Yeah. Damn right.
I love the fact that, comics can still innovate and do cool things. And yet, according to the internet, the entire comics industry is being outsold by one manga. That one manga is Demon Slayer.
Go slay those North American comics demons.
So, Demon Slayer is a super successful manga that has blown away record after record across the board when it comes to manga and comics and anime and all that jazz. And that has led some to say that it even has outsold the entire United States comics industry. So there's been a lot of talk about this, a lot of number crunching. Definitely wish Marco was here for this particular subject. Rarely do I think to myself, I wish Marco was here, but
numbers in anime though, right? Tough to beat.
Yeah. Those are like two of his three main things.
That's his department.
So this is it's a tricky one to discuss, but we'll get into it and we'll do our best. So we don't exactly know the sales of comics for 2020.
North American comics.
North American, yes. When I say comics, assume I'm talking about North American comics. And manga, I'm gonna call them manga.
Well, at least you'll be polite about it.
Well, so again, we don't quite know that. What we know is that Demon Slayer and manga in general overall have overperformed in 2020. Things actually went up for them dramatically. Huge gains. Whereas we don't quite know for comics. The assumption is that there have been gains, but we're not all the way sure. So Demon Slayer sold 82.34 million copies last year.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild.
According to comicbook.com's reporting on this, their assumption is that the best case is around that number, because in 2019 we saw that the comics industry sold 83.2 million and it dropped 1.2 million over the last year. So if things went that exact same way, then that would mean that probably 82 million comics were sold here in the United States. So obviously the assumption is that things went down by 1.2 million again, which is, it could be generous, but that could also not be generous. We don't know. That doesn't account for the success of a book like Berserker, for example,
sure,
which didn't exist in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But even if, right, the number was, let's say 85 million comics were sold, that's still insane, right? 82.34 compared to, even if you give comics every grace you possibly could and said it was like 85, that's still really close. And if you go by what comicbook.com is suggesting, they outsold the entire United States comics industry.
I think
I have a little bit more context here too.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Demon Slayer is actually the 9th highest selling manga of all time, and it's only been publishing for 5 years. According to the source that Wikipedia is using, it's sold 150 million comics in 5 years. That's half what Sean just said is half the money it's made just this year. So its rise in popularity is meteoric. Further context here.
When did the anime come out?
Someone looked that up while
I'll look it up. You keep going.
Further context. Demon Slayer just released a movie this year, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie, Mugen Train. That is now the highest grossing movie, not just in Japan, but in the world of all time. Passing movies that are like
highest grossing movie, period?
Anime movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's past movies like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Pokemon, the first movie, Princess Mononoke, all the Dragon Ball movies, One Piece Stampede, which, One Piece is like the most popular manga in the world. Like, whatever it is, 2021, and I guess to a lesser extent, 2020, Demon Slayer just blew the fuck up.
So I have some context. The 26 episode anime television series debuted in September of 2019. The sequel film came out in October 2020, and that's the one that you just called out. And then the second season comes out this year.
So yeah, the anime must have just blew up its popularity.
Sure did.
And that's cool. Congrats to them. Congrats to the creative team.
Yeah, that's a huge fucking accomplishment.
Quite the achievement. But obviously, for the purposes of this podcast, we're more interested in how that reflects on North American comic books. Mm-hmm. And I do not think that it is a reflection at all. And I have a big problem with the narrative. And it's going to lead us into our main topic, but we'll get to that in just a moment. There's a narrative that because Demon Slayer had this unprecedented success, that somehow is an indictment of comics. And when people say that, first of all, whether they are ignorant or otherwise, they're primarily talking about Marvel and DC Comics. But my thing is, those have nothing to do with each other. Yeah, I understand now that manga are comics. Mm-hmm. But the appetite for comics is clearly very different over there than it is over here. It's the fact that Demon Slayer can explode the way it did means and proves that the appetite is different. You probably couldn't have a comic book explode like that here in this country because in general, people are not as inclined to read comics for whatever reason.
I think the other problem is that something that is always interesting to me about the success of manga and anime, I guess specifically, is how much of it is dependent on its success abroad. And that's something that comics don't really seem to be able to replicate. Yeah. Kale talks all the time about how, and, we've had a number of creators who are from Europe or from the UK or whatever, who have expressed that, access to mainstream American comics was not a given. It was few and far between. It was something that was a treat maybe, or it was a thing that was very niche, so you didn't get exposed to it a lot.
Yeah, Grant Morrison talked about how they got their comics growing up from soldiers stationed in Scotland, American soldiers. It was kind of a trade system.
Right. And we had Garth Ennis on the show and was talking about how superhero comics were not a thing for him. It was the gunslingers. It was whatever. Right. And you look at the most popular Japanese manga series or anime series, and they are generally, anyway, a big hit at home, and then they find major success abroad being translated into a dozen other languages. And, you have a market of, we'll lovingly call them weebs, but, Japanophiles in the West who fucking really love Japanese media and eat that shit up. And I think the fact that the big two don't seem to have that same ability to, distribute the product overseas as efficiently, or to establish a base in those countries that are as ravenously excited about, the books in the way that they are the movies and whatever else. I don't think it's like, to the point you made, Sean, like an indictment of American comics as much as it is like, it speaks to the fact that I think that there's a missed opportunity there. And I think that that's a huge part of the success of a Demon Slayer or whatever, right? Like we talked about the anime came out. I think a big part of its success is that the anime came to Netflix during the pandemic. How many people watched that and then were like, oh, I'll go read the books?
That's what I was going to bring up. It makes me wonder, with manga and anime, it's a one-for-one adaptation. The manga comes out, especially these shonens that come out in Shonen Jump or whatever. And then an anime is created that's a direct adaptation of the specific manga.
Roughly.
Usually, anyway.
Say, that's not exactly.
That's not always true.
Yeah, because
like,
it happens a lot.
Yeah, sure, for sure. But like you can think of something like a Full Metal Alchemist or like Dragon Ball Z, even where like the anime would like get ahead of it sometimes, and just
they'll create filler and stuff. But for the most part, like with Dragon Ball specifically, it was an adaptation of the manga that would especially focus on the key points. Anyway, we don't really have that with comics. Runs aren't adapted into TV shows. They're loosely cobbled into movies sometimes. There's the animated movies that DC makes of like very iconic runs or very popular runs, often short runs. We don't have this infrastructure that exists of turning, popular comic book runs into TV shows. I wonder if such a thing.
You do, but it's with indie books, right? Because it's like you look at like The Walking Dead, right?
Yeah.
The success of The Walking Dead TV show made The Walking Dead. It was already a popular comic. It became a bestseller. You look at The Boys. The Boys became a series. Collections of The Boys sold through the fucking roof that year and continue to sell.
That's my question. I mean, what if you attempted to do something like Ultimate Spider-Man, something of that ilk, and you tried to make a popular adaptation of it to put on television or on Netflix or whatever? Could you see mirrored success in at least the United States?
No, because the biggest difference is that Pete had mentioned how we haven't been able to create a fervor for comics across the world the way that there is here. But my counter is there's not a fervor for comics here. There's a fervor for comic book characters, and that's global, but there's not a fervor for comics even in the United States. And that's the problem. That's the point. There is no, the market's not there. It doesn't exist. And this is something that I've been preaching on this podcast for many years. I don't think that American comic books have the reach that they used to, in the sense that they're not connecting with people, in the sense that there are not as many people that want to read them. There is a stigma associated with reading comics that doesn't exist in other countries. Like clearly, right? In Japan, if you read manga, that's perfectly fine, right? Like
there are sections of manga for various people. There's
literally
manga.
Whatever
there's
age.
Little girl manga. There's teenage boy manga. There's men's manga. There's
Matt
cooking
Murphy
manga. There's gross. You want to talk about blocking the weed?
the funny thing about that too is like there's names for those genres too, right?
Yeah.
It's an expected thing that like when you were this age and this whatever, right? Like this is the genre for you, right? Like shonen, right, is generally like it means the whole it's power and you're building power levels and blah 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 blah. But like shonen are generally targeted at young adolescent boys, and that's the market.
And American comics don't have that setup. There's nothing like that, and there's not going to be anything like that. It's a very different market with a different mentality. You're just not going to see this type of thing. And I don't even know that those like Walking Deads or Boys or whatever are comparable because they're not necessarily like big successes outside of this country. Like compare the success of The Walking Dead outside of the US to the success of Demon Slayer. And I guess you could say that Demon Slayer is unprecedented. That's certainly true. But what about Dragon Ball? What about Pokemon? What about X, Y, and Z? This is not even new. This phenomenon has been going on forever. Since the 80s, 90s?
90s at least, yeah.
I would say the 90s probably is when it really, because like Dragon Ball Z was I think the first like really major crossover hit in the way that we're talking about. Like there were other popular anime series and stuff that had made the jump before, but like
that or Pokemon.
I mean, I would even go as far back as Astro Boy, I think.
Sure, but like Astro Boy was popular, but not a cultural phenomenon in the way that like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon were,
I don't know.
Either way, the point is that we import a lot of that type of stuff, and these things are acceptable. In Japan in the 90s, obviously Pokemon exploded. At the same time, nerds were getting dunked on for knowing 5 members of the Avengers. We're in different places. We're not in the same place.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the conversation so often gets overlooked. But there's another part of the conversation that's equally as important to talk about. And that's going to lead us into our main topic, which is that as much as there is a culture of discussing comic books and the characters that come from them and the creators who create them, it feels like fans of comic books hate comic books. And that might be the biggest reason, if any, that comic books do not exist past this decade. So obviously that might be a little hyperbole, right? I don't think that comics are going to fold in the next 9 years. But I do think that comics have a problem that manga doesn't have that might cause the industry to eat itself. I think that, this week when this resurfaced about Demon Slayer, there was a huge reaction towards this particular idea. And a lot of it seemed to be people using this as a way of kind of dunking on comics. And quite a few of the people that I saw speaking about this are alleged readers of comics.
Sure.
And it just is so odd how often comics fans seem to relish in things going wrong in the industry. Like, oh, that'll teach them. And here's the crazy part. It's not necessarily the SJW haters or whatever, right? The comics gators or the comics gate adjacent type people. It's not them only. It's also the other side of that coin. It's also the people who say the industry is sexist and it's racist and it's corrupt and we're tired of weekly monthly floppies and blah 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 blah, and constantly harping on the negative elements or the things that they just personally don't like, that they somehow construct to be reasons why the industry is gonna die. And it's just like, first of all, who are you? But second of all, do you like this or not? and obviously we do this, right? We we get on our show and we have these conversations, but there's a difference between what we're doing here, which is having the talk, but which, by the way, we're not doing just because we feel like it. We're doing it because, we're doing the show, and getting on Twitter and seeming to enjoy the fact that, there might be some problems with the industry, and no one's denying that. I'm certainly not denying that, but I don't like it. I'm not happy about it, and I don't think it's great that Demon Slayer outsold, U.S. comics, but I also don't care, because at the end of the day, I don't think that those two things are related. I don't think that just because they're both comics that means that we need to compare one to the other. I think you can enjoy the success that Demon Slayer is having, and then also enjoy what you enjoy about American comics and leave it at that. The reason why I say, and I'm going to open the floor in just a moment, but the reason why I say that the industry is eating itself is because you have alleged fans on both sides who can't stop spewing venom, right? Who jump on Twitter at the first opportunity to shit on the industry, to shit on the storylines, to shit on the creators, shit. But then you also have creators who step down, right? Because a lot of times they act like gods on social media, who step down to dunk on people who have critiques about the industry. And there are a lot of creators that we love, that we celebrate on this show. We have them on, and by and large, the creators that I've interacted with and that I've seen on social media are awesome.
Yeah.
There are some who are soft. I'm just going to be honest. They're soft. They can't handle criticism on any level. And they use social media to make comics creators look bad. I think about Chuck Wendig. That was a bad look for comics. When he was going off a few years ago, when people were mad about Star Wars or whatever it was, and he was going off about Republicans and stuff like that, that was a bad look for comics. There's no need for that. And frankly, it's embarrassing.
That dude's still dunked on Twitter to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think that type of thing does not impact the sales of comics, you're wrong. You're flat out wrong. I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to say what he has to say. I'm not saying anyone doesn't have the right to say what they have to say. But the same way that if you have a job and you're expected to especially if it's a forward-facing job, you're expected to conduct yourself a certain way because it impacts the company, I think the same is true for comics. So I'm going to open the floor because I've talked enough.
Go ahead, Phil.
It's amazing how soft is a good way to put it. People are so sensitive about their hobbies and their interests. Inherently is a problem with internet culture, or at the very least it's personified because of the space that exists because of social media and message boards and things like that. But when one thing is elevated, so it has been a big week, big year for Demon Slayer, all credit to it. Inherently, comic book fans are so sensitive about their hobby that they feel the need to try to punch down this thing that other people like or is popular. And it's just why?
I think unfortunately it's human nature in a lot of ways. I don't think it's unique to the internet. I think it's something that's exacerbated by the internet because everybody has a platform.
Yeah, right.
And you can tweet some nasty shit about some creator and they might see it and then it goes viral or something. That can happen. Yeah. And that forum didn't exist before. But I think in general, it is unfortunately human nature to have that kind of groupthink mentality. And I think it's exacerbated by, like I said, the internet, but also by immaturity. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people connect their interests to their
identity.
Yeah, to their identity. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And I think there's a healthy way to do that. and there's an unhealthy way to do that. And like, I think like I look at our podcast, right? And like when I think of this podcast and what we do, this is the way that I feel, at least, I'm healthily expressing my passion and love and appreciation of comic books, right? And that's not never negative, right? Like we've all come on this show and lambasted something. We've all done that. We've all been that person. That's fine. I think though, what is unique about comics, right? Because you look at any industry and this exists, right? Like there's toxic fandom. There are industries that, like video games, right? There is no shortage of things that gamers do that make me fucking really embarrassed to be associated with that culture, right? However, video games are a mass market in a way that comics are not.
Right.
So for the, I don't know, right? Like say hundreds of thousands of douchebags that play video games and then go on Twitter or YouTube or whatever and say racist shit or harass women or, attack, people in the industry and send them death threats and shit like that. They are a vocal minority. Whereas with comics, they are a vocal segment of the audience. And it is not the same minority group that you can hand wave away because, the comics gators of the world or what have you, they are a significant and extreme portion of the audience. And there is a, mirror image, politically aligned, extreme contingency on the other side of that fence. And because comics are already a niche thing, I think that dominates the discourse because there aren't as many casual, moderate type comics fans that, read comics all the time, but maybe don't go on Twitter, right? Like, or what have you. I think there are a lot less types of comic readers like that. Most people that read comics are pretty into comics. And I think that creates or at least reinforces those groupthink tendencies and the, well, this is what I like and what I am into, whatever, right? And you look at the emotionally charged comment that we read earlier on the show, right? From someone who, I think is safe to say, right? Like, seemed to take personal offense to the fact that we didn't like a book that they liked. A lot of people do that, and I think that when you do kind of have that, in that example, I think like, and not to, shit on the commenter, but like, it is that kind of like toxic ownership over something of like, well, I'm a Marvel reader and, it's like if you say shit about that, then you're saying shit about me and I need to defend myself, right? Like you get this misplaced aggression. And I think that with comics, it's exacerbated even further because you have that mentality of like I need to defend this thing that I like from the other fans, but then also if you don't like what Marvel's doing at that point, you're going to attack Marvel and you're going to say, I love Marvel and you're ruining my favorite characters and this crop of creators are their stories suck or they're this or they're that, right? And you get like there's so many opportunities for you as a comics reader to create friction with yourself, with the creators, with other readers, with people that don't read, like whatever. And I think the more niche something is, the more ownership you feel like you have over it, and the more passionate you are when you attack or defend it.
It makes me think of that meme that was that circulates a lot on Twitter when people are mad about things that really don't directly impact them, where it's like in the first picture you see the kid with a boot on her head and it's like, oh no, that kid's got a boot in his head, and then the next one it's like his hand. It's the same type of thing where it's like all this anger for a thing that it's just comics, it's just a hobby.
Well, I want to point out a stat that is being thrown around by Mark Millar, actually. And this is, I don't know if this is true, but this is what he's saying. Here's an amazing stat I heard yesterday. Only 10% of comics buyers have a Twitter account, and only half of those accounts are actually active. Thus, 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter, which must be mind-blowing for the company marketing departments. He was asked by Heather Antos and Chris Arant, where did you get this stat from? And he said that a marketing pal of one of the big two, after a deep dive by their parent company, found this information out.
That's surprising. That's definitely surprising to me.
Well, it's a good reminder that Twitter is a very small local corner of the world.
Absolutely. Now,
what if he said, "Oh, I made it up"?
The reason why I think it's such a big problem, though, is not because of who's on Twitter that reads comics, but more who's on Twitter that doesn't, or who's on Twitter that could be a potential activated reader who won't be, because all the discourse around comics is awful.
It's so
everyone
negative.
is mad. Everybody is pissed. If you're not mad because you're because Stargirl's not being written by a woman right now, you're mad because Batman's only written by men. And if you're not mad about that, then you're mad because Yara Flor is being written by a woman. And if you're not mad, like, there's so many reasons to be mad.
You're mad that there's books about women at all.
Right, exactly. Like, it's just non-stop anger. And the representatives of the industry are always mad all the time. I every tweet that comes across my feed that's about comics is negative. If it's not a creator retweeting a positive tweet about their own work, which they absolutely should do, it's someone, a fan or a creator, being mad about something. If I were not a reader of comics, I wouldn't start. Why would I start? I mean, I probably would, because I don't care what people think, but I could see how that would be a problem. In fact, I went and I read several forums to see what people had to say about the Demon Slayer thing that we brought up earlier. And a lot of the commentary was from people who don't read comics, who said, I don't read comics because of X. I don't read comics because everyone who reads comics is mad about this, or comics are too woke, or comics are more concerned with appealing to X group than they are telling good stories, blah, 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 blah. And those are perceptions about comics that are created by the discourse that exists on social media. Those things are not true. They're not.
Well, and I think it reminds me of a conversation we've had before about toxic fandom, right? And like, you look at something like we've brought this up before. I'll use the example again because it's one of the most readily available. Something like Rick and Morty, right? Which if you hadn't ever seen it before, right, and you went to watch it now, you're aware of this stigma about the fan base of that show, right? And you carry that into, your interactions with it as a piece of media, or your desire to give it a chance, or what have you. And I think the same thing is definitely true of comics. Like, comics already have a stigma as being like a thing that's for dorks, which is fine. That is increasingly not a big problem. Liking nerdy shit is not as much of a stigma as it used to be. I think the bigger problem is that like there's a lot of toxicity, right? Like, you already have the barrier of entry that comics are not very accessible. They're expensive. They're hard to follow. It's hard to know where to start. Every person I've ever known who's ever been like, I want to read comics, they start by being like, I watched X, or I played X, or whatever, and I like this character. Like, after Miles Morales came out, right? There was somebody who reached out to me and was like, you like Spider-Man? I really liked Miles Morales. How can I read Miles Morales? And I had to do research to answer that question. Like, to be like, here's where you start, and like, here's what you could read, and this will make sense to you without context, and blah, blah, blah. And I, like, know a thing about comics. Like, imagine you don't at all. And then on top of that, all of the discourse that you see about it is like this vitriolic fucking anger from anybody about anything. And yeah, it's like, it's exhausting. It is exhausting, I don't engage with comics Twitter because of that. Because it's like, it's toxic and I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'm not interested in having discourse with people who are like, frankly, like acting insane. Like these are books. Like, like it really, at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. None of it matters. It's entertainment.
But listen, Pete, Sean, we're acting like we're comic book fan anthropologists, observing from afar. Why don't we get the perspective of an actual self-loathing comic book hater? Kale.
I don't know. They could make the books better. I don't know.
Sean has made that exact point.
That's funny.
I don't think that's not true, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the point Pete made, especially when you bring manga into the conversation, is crazy salient. The thing, sorry,
which point?
A lot of points.
Oh, sorry. The thing about Miles Morales and not being able to tell someone without doing research where to get it and what to get. When with manga, it's just like go to the store, pick up the number one if they have it. The thing I was thinking about when you brought up that Mark Millar quote, Sean, is it reminds me of that. Do you guys remember that scandal a couple of years ago about how Facebook falsely inflated the number of video views?
Yeah.
Or something, and it caused like a complete shift in journalism.
Yep.
And a couple of years later, after that shift happened and this was revealed, a ton of journalists were laid off because none of it meant anything. That sort of it makes me think of that, because it's like, everyone online feels like online is life, and that's where things are happening. Because and we were just talking about people who aren't on Twitter and engaging with the discourse. I went, man, that has to be just a completely different, a completely different life.
Too many people live their lives online. It's so true what you're saying, Kale. And when that anonymity is present, you are a lot more comfortable saying the darkest thing you have to say, because you can't express it otherwise. And I'll tell you, I was just passionately speaking about how much I loved X-Men number 20. And I get dissuaded and discouraged when I go on comics Twitter to try to see if other people feel how I feel, because it's all negative. It's like all bad. Like, I have read so much more negative about the Krakoa era of the X-Men than I have positive. And maybe that just means that people don't like it. But like, the books sell. So how could that be the case? Yeah. Right? It can't be the case. It can't be the case. And you're buying the book. So why do you choose to speak about it so badly? And that's what kills me.
I don't fucking understand people like that at all. I really don't. Like, there are so many, like, the thing in recent memory that made me feel that way the most was the discourse around Falcon Winter Soldier, where it was like every fucking week I'd see the same people make the same comments about why they didn't like it. And I'm like, then stop fucking watching it. Like, why? Like, or at least stop fucking tweeting about it. Like, who cares? Like, why are you devoting so much of your fucking time on this earth to bitching about shit you don't like on the internet? Like,
it's absurd.
I don't get it.
I unfollowed a guy today because he liked something too much. What? That's where I'm at on the internet.
I mean, I've legitimately unfollowed people who I like journalists that I like, writers that I like, because I was tired of listening to them bitch about a thing, or tired of them like retweeting people and being like, fuck you, and like starting a fight. And it's just like, dude, like, I don't need this. I don't need this fucking negativity in my life. I really don't. Like, I'm fucking negative enough on my own. My own fucking headspace is negative enough.
During the Snyder Cut era of 2021, I was, and I don't even think this way, but I was tempted to stop going on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I normally engage in social media divorced from what people are saying because I just really don't care. This was the one of the very few times where it started to impact me. Like, holy shit, why are you doing this? Like, I'm excited about this thing. I log on Twitter and I'm just trying to be on Twitter, and every tweet is about F Zack Snyder. He's a piece of garbage. This movie's gonna suck. No one's seen it. This movie's gonna suck. It's terrible. It's shit. Blah blah blah. Like, so why am I here? I might as well get off this thing. And it's really frustrating that this is where we're at, and it's so important. And this is how I want to personally close out this conversation for myself. It's so important that you talk about the things that you like, that you hold up the things that you enjoy more than you discuss the things that you don't, because you got to consider how it affects you to talk negatively all the time. Don't assume that it doesn't, because it does. It absolutely does affect you to always be negative, to always rag on something, to always be the contrarian, to always have a gripe or a bitch about a thing. You got to get out of that. It's more important for you and the rest of the world that you highlight the things that you enjoy. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk about things that are wrong or bad, but there are a lot more things that are wrong or bad than who's writing whatever comic book.
Yeah.
And those things actually need your voice. They really do. Like, you really should talk about, the bigger problems that exist, let's just say in America, than, whether or not
you like Batman right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And we get on this podcast and we have those conversations, but this is a show and we're having a fun time doing it.
This is escapism. Yeah.
We're goofing.
Right. And like, don't get me wrong. I'm like, literally, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a main topic on this podcast where I talked about how I'm like tight with Marvel, right? Like, I'm annoyed with Marvel's storytelling. But I also this week am on this podcast telling you how I feel like I'm 15 again because of X-Men 20, and that's the balance that is lacking on people's social media accounts and the discourse about these books.
Yeah, because like you said, like, there's nothing wrong with like having a discourse or a dialogue about a thing you didn't like. Like, that's fine. It's the like constant stream of just negativity that is just like, yeah, and it's not productive. And I think the thing that bothers me more than anything is like there is this real attitude that I think is particularly prevalent in our generation and a little bit older, where it's this idea that like being critical and negative is like valuable. Like just
inherently.
Yeah, inherently. Right. That's exactly it, Phil. That it makes you interesting to like have takes and critiques about things. And I gotta say,
take culture.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. No. And I gotta say, I don't fucking care about your hot takes. I don't care about them. I'm happy to listen to your opinion. I don't ever want to hear a hot take ever again. And and when it comes to the opinion side of things, there is nothing less interesting to me than a person whose entire identity is critiquing things. Like, if X is so shitty, tell me why Y is better. Because if you don't have that, if you can't point to the things that you're like, I stand by this, I champion this, I want to be out there celebrating this, then you're just a miserable fuck. And no one wants to talk to that person. Like, nobody wants to engage with that person. It's so much easier to champion the things that you like and that you are a fan of and talk about why they deserve more attention. I'm 1,000% here for that discourse about whatever. Even if I don't fuck with it, tell me why you do. That's way more interesting. That is way more likely to spark a conversation that is illuminating. Yeah, a value, of any kind of value, right? At the very least, we could walk away having an understanding of each other's tastes,
That used to be an old Simpsons joke where they would roast the fans that would go online and just complain about every single episode, especially back when the show was good. And
it's the comic book guy, right?
The comic book guy, exactly.
Worst podcast ever.
Yeah, Sean's right. Like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, duh.
Right, and definitely not Sean's soapbox. Pop culture and art are meant to be escapism, like But the thing that I always circle back to is wrestling fans who watch wrestling every week with stuff they don't like. And it's just like, don't watch it. There's other things out there, especially with wrestling. There's so many options for wrestling. It's the same thing with comics. You don't like Marvel, go read DC. You don't like DC, go read Image. You don't like Image, go read Boom. You don't like that, go read manga. There's so much shit out there. Ditto for television and movies. There's just so much shit out there.
Or like maybe just don't read it. Like
Yes,
like just
that's
don't.
What I'm saying. There's other things to do with your time.
Go for a walk.
Go work out.
The world has changed in such a way that there is an overwhelming amount of things that you could possibly engage with. It's not like back in the day where like you just really just own, like if comics were your thing, you only had Marvel and DC and a slight few other things. And maybe your shop didn't carry them. So if the Flash was bad that month, that really sucked for you. It's just not that way anymore, you know, and it's a different time. And the conversations, and Phil made a great point, the conversations always willfully or otherwise ignore the fact that there are comics that exist outside of the big two. I have found refuge in those.
So does Pete.
I probably pull more non-big two books than I do Marvel or DC books these days than ever before my life. And that's cool for me. That's working for me. Last point before we close the show. You had something, Kale?
Yeah, I'll make a quick anecdote and then we can close it because it's a perfect bow on the whole of the conversation. So you go ahead and do yours.
I was just going to say, that's one of the reasons why I love our Discord server so much. Because regardless of where you fall on that spectrum of how much you enjoy a thing, on our Discord server, the conversations about those things are always interesting, engaging, and nuanced. We've actually been able to cultivate a group of people on there who know how to have a conversation. And it's so much fun and it's refreshing. So when I'm looking for for other people's thoughts, because I said I don't care what people think. I do want to know how people feel about things. I do want to know.
I don't care what assholes think.
Right, exactly. I go to Discord now more than I go to Twitter when it comes to comics and new movies and stuff. And because it's a smaller community of people that we're choosing, right? We're choosing them to be there. We've kicked people out before.
My favorite thing about our community is like we don't even really have to kick people out. Like every person who's ever come in like hot and been a douchebag, our fucking whole community just bullies the shit out of them until they leave.
I've actually kicked people.
We did ban that one motherfucker. Yeah, that's true.
We do support bullying. That's true.
Yo, I'm just saying, if you're a bully, I'll bully you. That's what.
So yeah, like maybe, and this is just a general statement. Maybe for you, if you're feeling how I'm feeling, you should find a community that's not as broad as Twitter is, with like-minded individuals who want to actually talk and engage and not have to shove their entire thought process into however many characters Twitter allows you to use these days. Maybe that's our Discord, but maybe it's not. Whatever it is, you should find that space and go thrive there, because those pockets do exist 100%. And like Mark said, if he's right, only 5% of the people who read comics are on Twitter. So don't shy away from books that you enjoy because of the negative discourse around them on social media. Keep liking what you like. Keep trying different things. Ignore people who talk trash, because likely their lives suck and they don't have anything better to do, and they just want to be negative because they're negative people. Find what you like, support it, be a champion of it, like Pete said, and find other people who feel like you do. Kale, you got the last word.
So the one time I've ever felt the most called out, I worked a rugby game in New Zealand, and it was 3 a.m. I'm leaving, and I happen to be leaving next to this this younger Kiwi woman, and she's bouncing around happy as can be. And she asked how my night was. Man, this, and this. I hate this, and this. And she
Doesn't
went,
sound like you.
She went, oh, a grumpy American. How original.
Gotta got your fucking ass.
She
dude.
did get your ass.
Roasted me.
Holy shit, that's hilarious.
Wow.
Okay.
Don't be a grumpy American.
Good stuff.
Good advice.
That's going to do it for us on this show. Thank you so much for listening. I meant what I said when I said that our Discord server is a place that, you know, really cool people have gotten together. And by the way, that's not exclusive to just men, you know, pals in general. That includes every kind of person, regardless of where you fall, and everyone's welcome. And we're happy to have you. So please do come hang out with us. I know that the majority of people don't do things like that in general, but if you are inclined to be on Discord, if you're that kind of person, I really truly believe that you will have a good time with us. So you're welcome.
And if you've never been in one before or whatever, like, I think ours is a good one to dip your feet in. It's a small community of people who are nice.
Absolutely.
Tell your friends about it too.
Yeah. Even if you don't listen to the show or whatever, that's fine. Like, you're welcome. If you want to come talk comics and be nice, that's cool.
Definitely. So come hang out with us. A link is in the description. If you don't know what that means, ask us on, you know, however you can ask us, and we'll send you a direct link if you want to come hang out. And if you want to support us, if you want to help us out, make sure that you guys are hitting that follow button, leaving us a rating or a review wherever it is that you're listening to us. If that happens to be YouTube, subscribe for free. Like the video, share it with your friends, drop us a comment. All those things are free to do, and they help us out a lot more than they cost you. If you want to write into us, you can do so at thecomicspals@gmail.com. Write in with your opinions, not takes, opinions, about anything we talked about on this episode or any other of the Comics Pals. Make sure that you guys listen to our Jupiter's Legacy book club. That was a lot of fun. We hope you enjoy it. Take the Comics Pals Challenge. I challenge you to go look at our list of book clubs and not find a book that you have enjoyed. I think we've really hit across all spectrums. If you like comics, there has got to be a book we've done on there that you will like. So take the challenge and write in, and we'll definitely do your suggestions. So with that, let's get into the plugs. Pete.
Thank you guys for joining us here on another episode of the Comics Pals. If you want to connect with me, I'm at loud_Pete on Twitter and Instagram. I will keep the negativity to a minimum. Come chat with me about whatever you're excited about these days, because that's what I want to hear about. If you want to get some more stuff from me, you can go check out my band, Long Friend, Time Friend, wherever you get your music. Our debut album, If Me Dies, Me Dies, is available. We've got that cool vinyl thing that we're doing right now, so if you like vinyl, come get some vinyl, please. We need to sell some more. If you want to get some more content from me, you can go check out the video game podcast. I do the podcast, post every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out.
All right, Kale.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TotoInTow. That's TOTOINTOW. You can find my work at kaleward.com. That's CALEWARD.com. Man, I'm hitting manga hard. I wasn't into Kaiju number 8, and now I am. So I don't know. I'm watching Mob Psycho 100. I started Haikyuu.
I've heard that's good.
That volleyball anime. I don't know, man. You can thank Mr. Marco Animoto for that. And as well as Matt Murphy, but
don't thank him.
We don't talk. Let's not talk about what he's tried to introduce me to.
Come join the Weeb channel.
Dick Fight Island.
Bill.
That conversation has me feeling all warm inside. We do have such a nice show of pals, I'll tell you what. I'm interested in watching or reading Demon Slayer, so hit me up at Cyborg Bebop and tell me why I should watch that in your opinion. A few weeks ago, I expressed the fact that I had just finished Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I find that people keep sliding into my DMs with Evangelion content. So clearly, whenever I mention I'm doing something here, people respond. So tell me why I should read or watch Demon Slayer, and maybe I'll give it a shot. And like I said, that's Cyborg Bebop, Twitter and Instagram.
Is that really true?
Yeah, it's true. People keep sending my DMs about fucking Evangelion.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know, if you showed up in the Discord, we could also have conversations about
Hey,
things.
I posted a banana there last week.
Last week, you posted one picture of a banana.
That's right.
After having not posted anything for a month.
Yeah, I'm on a good track right now, folks. Listen, it's good for my mental health to be as offline as possible.
Fair enough.
Offline from our curated community.
As for me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sean Soapbox. I actually just beat Resident Evil 8. Speaking of things, that we really enjoyed, I've really loved that game, but now I don't know what to play. So hit me up with suggestions if you've got them. And
Sean play
I'll
Mass
probably
Effect. Sean play Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, I could do that.
Do it.
It's a good game.
So good.
With that, we're the Comics Pal signing off. Take care, guys.
See you next week.
Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. Her mom was killed by 100 puppies.